another hip hop podcast, episode 4, episode 3, depending on who you ask. But that's beside the point. This is Mayron. You'll learn more about me as this podcast goes on.
Yo, it's Soul. Hello. And it's Bria. Hey, I'm going to try and figure out a better intro, but hey.
We're working on it. We're working on it. So, underrated, underappreciated, underheard albums of 2018. What did y'all think came out last year that you want the greater public to hear about that didn't get the play it deserved? And why? Like, what's the number one thing? Let's start there. It's a hard spot to start. But what's the number one thing y'all heard last year that didn't get the play it deserved?
What do you think, guest?
I think there's an album that we already agree on with Buddy's Harlan and Alondra. Buddy, he got a little bit of radio play with Shine, and he had one more joint that he put out.
Trouble on Central? Did that come out?
Trouble on Central has a visual now that it's starting to pick up traction. But like before Shine, what was it? He had one more big radio single.
Another big radio?
Shine was the biggest one.
Shine was definitely the biggest one, but there was another one that also got radio play that I can't think of right now.
So for those that don't know, Buddy's from the West Coast.
Yeah, Buddy is from the West Coast. He was the last artist signed to Pharrell's Star Trek before it dissolved. So he's somebody that's been in the scene, in the cut for a couple years now, and he's still young, and he's talented as fuck. But Pharrell's protege, West Coast rap.
From Compton. The album's called Harlan and Alondra.
Yeah, which are cross streets.
In Compton.
Yeah, and it's just it's a really soulful album.
And it's one of the most cohesive albums and thought out albums.
Black with A$AP Ferg. That's the other thing that got a lot of play.
Did it?
Yeah.
I was more thinking Hey Up there.
It was on the show.
Sign was bigger than that.
This was the other single, Find Me. That was the other one that got a little bit of traction. But Shine got more traction.
Yeah, Shine was the first thing that I heard from him. And I think I heard that maybe on a SoundCloud playlist. And I was like, oh, this dude is dope. And then I remember Lex, you putting me on to the album because
of Guap Dad.
Yeah, I fucked with this Guap Dad freestyles. Shout out to Guap Dad 4000. Them freestyles he used to do on Twitter that used to crack me up. And I was like, yo, this nigga low-key has bars on. What if he starts rapping? And then Alexis is like,
and then one day, because I had already been listening to Buddy with the past couple projects he put out with Ocean in Montana, and then when Shine first came out, I was like, man, this dude's real smooth. Exactly, in Magnolia. And then so Harlan and Alondra comes out, and I'm like, yo, Bria, you gotta hear this song. Get this on here.
I was like, yo, my nigga Guap Dad. And I just happened to play the entire album, and I was like, yo, I am different beautiful. Now. It is beautiful.
And the thing about Buddy is, I watch, if you go to watch his NPR Tiny Desk performance.
Very good.
It's very good, and you get a sense of how real this person is, right?
Oh, his personality, literally, no pun intended, shined in that performance. It really did.
All the way through. Buddy is almost quintessentially West Coast in the way he presents himself, right? In the way he talks, and the way he speaks, and the way he acts. And this album I think is gonna definitely be a breakout album for him in the sense that it had a lot of big names. It had Snoop Dogg on it.
For sure.
Right? And my favorite
Snoop Dogg, Ty Dolla $ign, Khaled, he had some.
It was the features were very solid.
Yeah.
I mean, my favorite track is Trouble on Central. I play that all the time.
And the thing that I like about this album so much, and I'm no longer calling albums, I'm trying to get out of the habit of calling albums my favorite if I don't like almost every song on the album. Yeah. I can't call the entire project my favorite. I just like certain songs from it. I like sections of it. This is one album that there is maybe one song on here that I skip through.
I don't like the Khalid song, but I can I can play everything else from end to end.
Trippin' is probably my favorite. Trippin' is my alarm, actually.
It's not gonna be your favorite
Trippin'.
of the month.
The only one that I sometimes skip over is Legend, which doesn't even count to me as a song. It's more like an intro.
Yeah,
I like it. Legend is just an intro to Trouble on Central, and sometimes I just want to get to Trouble on Central, so I skip it.
I feel that. Yeah.
Every other song I listen to.
But
every single
real
song.
life shit and Trouble on Central.
Oh my god,
those two songs. Actually, to me, initially when I heard Trouble on Central and I heard it first by itself, I'm like, is he from DC? I'm just like, why is he riding the blue line? Hold on.
Shut up.
No, I'm dead ass.
Yeah,
I was like, oh wait, he's from Compton. Never mind. I know who this is. But those two songs, Real Life Shit and Trouble on Central, I think encapsulate who Buddy is.
Yeah,
and every time I listen to those two songs, I'm like, I get this artist.
And I really feel like it encapsulates 2018. I just feel this is one of the
Trouble
albums
on Central and Real Life
Shit.
You
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I've been going through some real life shit. That is one of the songs that I literally put everyone onto, including Tay, who is literally next door. Shout out to Tay and Trap Factory. Literally in the studio right now. I was like, have you heard this? You need to listen to this. Just talking about real life shit. And like he told me yesterday, like, son, I haven't stopped playing that Buddy album.
Yay.
There's not one person that I put this album on to. Shout out to Cash, shout out to Bailey, shout out to Deuce.
The best friends are the friends you put on the music.
Nylea, shout out to every single person, like every single one that's come back to me like later on and be like, bruh, this album has done something to me. Thank you so much for introducing it to me.
And the amazing thing about Buddy is he does this thing where he can sound fresh and new and still talk about very complicated problems, right? It's almost Vince Staples like, but a little better. Vince Staples is obviously very good. No Hate to FM. I love that album as well.
He's a very good storyteller.
But the thing about Vince Staples is he tells these stories and the sounds sound fresh and they sound refreshing and they sound new and they sound almost jovial. Buddy does the same thing. He talks about real life shit and you can bob your head to it while listening to things that aren't necessarily things you want to bob your head to.
Yeah, and I would say like that, exactly. That's a huge part of Buddy's appeal. Like in the same way that Vince gives you that grit, and you're like, oh yeah, this some LA shit.
Yeah.
Like Buddy gives that to you, but in the smooth, like when you think of like how like Dom makes you feel, like how he makes you feel, like the smoothness, the definition of a vibe. The smooth, you know, like when you think of LA rappers and you think of them just being like, damn, they're talking this shit, exactly, like that smooth shit. Yeah,
but
you think of the visual.
He's still talking that real shit though.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, and I think that's really important.
But I also like the contrast of how he was able to like sing about and rap about real life shit to like a happy like up tempo type beat, but then have like Find Me Too, and it's completely like not that vibe at all. Different. Nor is like kind of Trouble on Central. Like it does still have like a vibe to it or like a beat to it, but like there's so many moments with this album where like I feel like I'm meant to be touched and I am. I don't have to like mask my feelings of like insecurities or like anything with like happiness all the motherfucking time. Like sometimes I could just sit and be lost and like revel in that.
But he sounds a lot like a jazz artist to me. Right?
I mean, even the cover art is very like
very jazz, like
very
vintage. It adds to everything you just said, right? The comfort of jazz is being able to go to a jazz club and like sit there and listen to jazz as you're like bobbing your head, enjoying yourself while listening to someone's blues, right? It's all there in one thing. All right, so
like being allowed to process their emotions and kind of process and reflect on your own at the same time. Like music that kind of takes you out of that space, but still kind of keeps you in whatever space they want to put you in. It's like I feel like it's hard to execute that, especially now, because I just don't feel like that's like the target for most artists now. You know what I'm saying?
Well, because it goes back to like substance. So being able to find a substance and to make something sound beautiful, like while also really hitting on real life shit. And there's not a ton of music that does.
Such a great song title, isn't it?
It is.
Exactly. Like, because very few people get in their bag. There's like you either like somebody for their sound or you would like somebody
for
like
their content.
Because they talk about that real shit. But the artists that can do both are like really, there's not that many right now that are putting out consistent bodies of works that do that. And I think like one thing that you said was important in how many people you put onto this project and stuff, Bria, is like the fact that my measure of a good project is when you can live with the project, when you can be like, yo, I was in my car and I was playing this, and then I was, and then I was smoking a blunt with the homies, and then we played this, and everyone fucked with it, and they've been listening to it on their own. Like, how a project really lives with you, that's the measure of a good project.
Throughout 2018, this album has, like, completely, like, subscribed, like, and described my life.
Mm-hmm. But adding to that, like, measures of a good project and being able to live with it, the replayability in a time when there's so much oversaturation in music is so important. The fact that people can even come back and listen 2 or 3 or 4 times just to listen, just for the sake of listening to it.
It's impactful.
Is incredible, right? Because if you think about how many albums came out last year, it was impossible to even keep up with all the new shit, let alone and go back and re-listen and actually digest some old stuff, right?
Exactly.
And so that, I think, is one of the things that made this album special for me, is like y'all said, you were in the car with your homies listening to it. You were at the kickback listening to it. You could listen to it multiple times and be happy with it.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't different settings, in different settings with different people.
It wasn't fast food, right? And a lot of music is fast food.
Yep.
This is like, all right, I can come back to this and sustain this in a healthy way. I can have a relationship with this music. I can have a relationship with this album.
Yeah, this ain't no hit it and quit it.
All right, bet. So
one last thing I want to touch on too is also like, I felt like that album was the perfect length. It was 12 songs. It was 40 minutes. And that's like really like a nice sweet spot. Yeah. When albums get much longer than that, they're not very enjoyable because you feel almost like that you're like, man, it feels like an obligation. And when you get about song 9 or something, you're like, fuck, is this almost over yet? Like, I'm liking it, but
I put the things to do.
So 12 is like really like I feel like that's a really good number.
And if it's much shorter than 12, then you're just like, man, I wanted more.
It's a taste, exactly. Like, wow, you kind of teased
I think that was so much of 2018 is like 40-track albums or like 5-song EPs.
Yeah, you have like
that's
Kanye,
really was 2018.
You have like Kanye and all the good music albums on one side of the spectrum, and then the other side of the spectrum is like Drake and Migos.
You know what I'm saying? Or even if that's Trim Life or whatever, like that joint, all these joint
the 3
collaboration albums that are still 50 songs to process.
All that type.
So can we say the top 3 songs to listen to it, for me at least, Real Life Shit, Treble on Central, and for me, Black. What y'all got? Top 3 songs to listen to off this Buddy track.
I say Real Life Shit, I say Treble on Central, and I don't know, man. Either Find Me Too or the way that I'm just feeling right now in my life.
You gotta pick one. You gotta pick one. Pick one. Pick one, yo. It's not hard.
Hey Up There.
Hey Up There. All right, bet. What you got, Lex?
Oh, man. Mine, Hey Up There would also be on my list. Trippin' is on my list. You're tripping because you don't like that jump. And I would probably do Trouble on Central too.
Alright. So we all have like the same songs kind of in it, maybe 1 or 2 extra.
But I mean the whole like I almost like hate to name favorite songs for this project because it's really smooth all the way through.
Me too. Because
like,
I don't want to hear Young and I'm like, yo.
I don't want people to be like, hold up, oh, so it only like
listen to the whole project.
Like, the whole project is very thorough.
And that's something else. Every time I tell somebody to digest this album, I say listen to the entire thing. Like, and pick your favorites.
If you need somewhere to start there. But listen to the whole.
But listen to the whole thing.
So
good shit.
Something that was, I think, underappreciated to and underlistened to. Lil Mosey had an album called North's Best. And a lot of people know me, and they're like, Mayron listens to a Lil? Yes. This one in particular. This Lil Mosey album almost changed my life. It didn't actually change my life because I'm not going to let that happen, but it almost changed my life. He has a song on there called Kamikaze. And to me, it represents all the dope shit about what the Lils can do. And I don't say Lils like derogatively, like in a derogative way. I'm saying Lils just to like ascribe them to tribe, right? It's the easy way to describe them. I don't like the term mumble rap because none of them are actually mumbling, and mumble rap's not actually a thing. But I can describe them all as Lils. So anyways, back to this album, North's Best. The thing that Lil Mosey did on this album is he was able to do what all good quote-unquote mumble rap or all good Lil rappers are able to do. He was able to channel emotion with very few words, right? The thing that the lyrical miracles often forget as to why the kids like the new music, it's because the new music hits emotionally for them. That's why a lot of younger folk fuck with sort of whatever new wave is coming up, because they understand it emotionally and it impacts them emotionally in a way that the previous generation didn't. If you listen to this album, North's Best, from Kamikaze all the way down to Trap Star, you get the full range of emotions of what someone like this is feeling. And I think from there, you're able to sort of like take a step back and look at like all the lil rap or all the mumble rap, whatever you want to call it, and be like, yeah, this has some worth and this has some value. For me, that's really important as like an older hip hop listener. I say older like I'm old, I'm only 26. But as someone who appreciates sort of the older genres of hip hop, but it's important to sort of like have that window, have that funnel into like the new shit. And it's a great way to get introduced to the new shit if you don't necessarily like the stuff that's on the radio, to find it in. So that's one of mine. I know a lot of people haven't listened to that, hence why Lex and Bria are quiet. But y'all should.
I haven't listened to this project, but I do love Noticed. Like, I did freestyle to that joint that I didn't put out, but like that hook is infectious as hell. I really like him as a young artist, and like I said, I haven't dived into this project yet, but I've heard a couple things from him, and he has like, you know, he has that bounce.
He definitely has that old school bounce.
I mean, I just like while you were sitting here talking about it, I put it on my phone so I can listen to it later. Cause I did fuck with Notice.
And yeah,
I really fucked with the lyrical Lemonade video.
It
was beautiful. Exactly. So he's definitely a young artist that I will definitely take a look at more in depth because I do like what I have heard.
Who you got, Bria? Lex and I each put one forth.
I mean, Buddies is definitely my top.
Yeah, that was
definitely one knocked off.
I feel like that was
that's a good one. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about this and get this out the way because it's something that me and Lex kind of got in a debate in off the mic and decided to save it. But on my list of those, one of the albums that I have an issue with because it was too damn short was Whack World. Now, I know Whack World, in my opinion, from my kind of perspective, Whack World got a lot of traction, I would say, like, the end of 2018. Like, when niggas are recapping the shit that you missed, the fire that you missed, the shit that you needed to pay attention to, and if you didn't, like, your sleep, is Whack World. And everyone's like, oh yeah, Whack World. Yeah, that shit, that was lit. Like, other than the people that I look to for, like, my tastemakers as far as my friend group goes, which is literally 2 people in this room, like, and maybe 2 other people, I didn't see anybody talking about Whack World. Maybe some people that cared more about visuals, or people that know that I would care about visuals. Have you seen this music video? This music video was tight. Not the project, not her artistry or anything like that. Like, this one, and it's usually just, like, one aspect of it. Like, fruit salad or something. Like, I saw that one part on BET and it was dope. Like, I didn't hear much discussion about her album until that picture came out of her next to what SZA and Janelle Monáe at the Grammy Awards, and people were like, who is that bitch? I'm like, that's the bitch that had the album of the year.
So I like Whack World. I think Lex did too. I don't think you'd be hard pressed to find someone that didn't like it. The reason I don't think it's necessarily underappreciated is because it was so short.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of my qualms with it, is that it was so short.
I think had it been, like, longer and a fuller body of work, you can say definitely was underappreciated, but it came and went by so quick that it gave me this taste of an artist that I really want to listen to more. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, damn.
But it's more about the anticipation of what she's going to do next rather than, like,
and I know, like, I think it was her Fader interview. I might be getting the publication wrong, but she did, it was the Fader. And so she did a fairly, like, thorough, like, interview with them in the fall. And she kind of talked about how it was just supposed to kind of, like, build anticipation. And she kind of had this idea, was like, what if I make all these songs really fucking short and then people are kind of upset? And I think obviously
it made me upset. So
it did, exactly. But like you said, it's mission accomplished because it makes people want more. It leaves people with a craving. And for me, the main reason why I don't feel like it deserves to be on the, like, underrated list, because, okay, it dropped May 30th, so, like, smack in the middle of the year. Mm-hmm. And it really picked up steam by, like, I would say August, like, late summer. And to me, like, because Tierra, in terms of a national platform, she's a new artist. You know, she just signed and stuff. So, like, that's why I didn't feel like it was underappreciated, especially because, like, I used to spend a lot of time in Philly. So I saw Tierra, like, kind of come up. I've seen her at shows. You know, I've met her in person before. So to me, I felt like her buzz is building, and, like, she came out at Made America in August. I think Meek did bring her out. Yeah. Meek Mill brought her out. You know, so, like, I feel like her star is rising at a very, like, thorough rate. And I definitely feel like this left people with a craving. And I think she's gonna have a big 2019. So I definitely think that's one of the best, like, from a new artist, and I always put that in quotes because any new artist has been working at their shit for years. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I know this for a fact because I seen her years ago. But so I think Tierra, like, gave people that crazy.
It was solid. Like, she released a solid enough project and got a solid enough feedback.
So what determines whether or not this shit is going to be underrated or underappreciated in the future is how good her next project is.
Facts, sure. Exactly.
Right? It's 100% dependent on it. If this shit comes out and it's fire, this elevates way past anything we've ever seen before. If it's not, then it's kind of like, all right, yeah, that was cool.
It was a flash. Then it's gonna look like a flash in the pan. Like, oh dang, that was a nice moment, but
that's all you had. Like,
right, exactly.
So now she's put a lot of pressure on herself to deliver some fire.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, you know.
So I hope it goes well for her, because if it does, it'll be dope as fuck. Especially because it's been a long time since we've seen this type of female talent. So it's exciting, you know, and she gets a lot of parallels to Missy and shit, and I think, you know, like, that's appropriate.
A little early.
But the way, early as hell. The visual exactly the way she dipped in her visual bag, and even because there was a visual I played for Nia and Bria at the beginning of last year before Whack World came out, and I don't remember the song was called at the moment. Oh, it was Mumbo Jumbo. That's what it was.
I say at the moment. And
shouts. No, but yeah, the Mumbo Jumbo visual was tough as fuck. And I remember seeing that, and this was like February 2018, and I was like, oh, she signed, and she's about to do some really cool shit this year. And then Whack World came out. So Tierra Whack, I definitely feel, is definitely an artist that we should be paying attention to in 2019.
For sure.
We're definitely not going to say top track, because just listen to the whole thing. It'll take you like 5
minutes.
Yeah,
because there's literally a minute long.
Yeah, it's 15 minutes long.
I will say, what was your favorite visual from her, and what should people start with there? That is something, because the visuals are so important to her.
Favorite visual
just
from her.
Real quick, because it's like, what makes her so unique is her ability to produce these uncanny visuals now, right? It's not just the fact that she released a really short album, congratulations. It's the fact that she paired it with all this dope shit.
Well, the very last song, honestly, where she's like, it's the visuals of them alone are just striking, like the stills of the very, very last song. But
What's it called? I can't remember. Dang. It's fine. But the last song on Whack World, you're saying the visuals are striking in itself.
Yeah, for sure. It was Ways.
Oh, okay. Ways.
I really liked the imagery of Pet Sematary, especially just like listening to the lyrics of Pet Sematary or whatever. Like the contrast. Yeah. Wow. I mean, Fruit Salad is one of my favorite songs though. So I just like the playfulness of like the visuals. So I mean, all of them honestly are amazing.
I mean, I'd start with Pet Sematary because I enjoyed that the most. But there we go. All right, Lex, you got another one?
Dang, I don't have a favorite visual.
Not a visual, but the next album.
The next album?
Yeah.
Man, let me tell you. First of all, I think for me, an album that got a lot of like playing time was Shaboozie's
Lady Wrangler.
Beautiful fucking album. Like,
cover art's hilarious.
Really feel like, I don't know. This was an album I didn't hear people talk about at all. Like, at all. I don't know anyone who was talking about it.
It only has 158 likes on SoundCloud.
Which is not a lot, right? It didn't get a lot of play.
It didn't get a lot of play.
Especially for him to be signed to Republic. That's the other thing, because it's not like Shaboozie is like just out here doing his indie shit.
He's from VA, 2 Up, 2 Down.
Yeah. The
thing about Shaboozie that I thought was dope is his album was very smooth.
Exactly.
Like, I listened to it all the way through. I didn't really notice any like jarring transitions. I'm like, all right, this is a dope album. I think it might have been underappreciated because of I don't think it did a lot to stand out, right? I don't remember any moments on this album where I was like, oh shit, this is making me stop.
Well, even in terms of like standing out, because I kind of stumbled across this album and I don't remember how. I don't know if one of the songs was on a playlist or if one of them was like in the new music, something. So I stumbled across one of the songs and that's what made me listen to the project, because I remember Shaboozie's Winning Streak, you know, like I remember that song coming out a while ago and I'd be like, dang, this is smooth as shit. And then like you just didn't hear anything from him for like 2 years. And then so when I saw that Winning Streak was on this project, I was like, ooh, bet, let me listen. But you're right, it didn't stand out, but I won't even say like sonically, because I think sonically it gives you something different than most mainstream stuff, but it didn't have any sort of, I don't remember seeing any marketing assets for it. I don't remember seeing posters. I don't remember seeing the cover places. Like, so for him to be signed to a major label, I just felt like there wasn't that major label like push behind it. And so I feel like that's why it just didn't, it was really quiet, but the project is really beautiful.
I remember one song, Golden Child, off of it. Mm-hmm. I think that's the only song that I really remember. So if I were starting to listen to that album again, I go directly to that song. And I don't know if that's just the way I consume albums. It's like, for me, it has to have songs that I can immediately remember and say, like, yeah, that was dope, and that's why. And I'm not sure if his album had that, but what I will say, when I listened to it, and I listened to it like 2 or 3 times, is that the album itself, the project itself, is something very good for a long car ride, right? I could, like, drive from here to Baltimore, take an hour and 15, and just listen to his shit as I'm driving up 95, and I'll be straight.
Yeah.
And his voice is very soothing to listen to. Like, it's a good level.
Yeah, I feel like kind of in the same way that we were talking about Buddy, it kind of hits like that sonic arena, and like, yeah, it does just have like a really smooth like playability to it. For me, I think in also in the way that Bria was kind of like, yo, Buddy was like speaking my life in 2018, I kind of felt like that was Shaboozie for me. Like, I felt like this project really encapsulated a lot of like my emotions and stuff, and there was just songs I remember singing on there that I was just like, you would have thought I felt like I wrote the fucking song because of, you know, the way I would sing along to that, you know.
What songs you got there that you'd be like, all right, bet, start with this if you're giving it to a homie?
Oh, man.
I would start with Golden Child, personally.
Okay, Golden Child is really great. I would definitely say, like, the song that I felt like I sang out loud and it really felt like me, I would say Faithfully, which is the second track on there.
Yeah.
And you know, the chorus goes, I'm coming through, make way for me. How can y'all throw shade on me? Y'all ain't set a place for me. Said y'all ain't have space for me. Now they all some friends with me. The same one said they pray for me. I know they gonna hate on me, but they still gonna watch me faithfully.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so like in 2018, I felt like
he could rap. Don't get it twisted. He could rap.
Yeah, and he just has a smooth ass voice. But Faithfully was the joint that I was like, yes, talk your shit. And Winning Streak, like I said, that song came out in 2016. It's a really fucking good song. So I would say Shaboozie is probably my like underrated, underplayed. If you never heard of that nigga, do your Googles. Lady Wrangler, one of my favorite projects.
So for me, the next one I got is actually Mick Jenkins' Pieces of a Man.
Yes.
So here's the thing. This album is amazing.
Very, very.
Also, Chicago secretly has, not secretly, but like Chicago has like the Young Justice League of rappers, right? They have like the Saba, the Chance, the No Name, the Mick. Like they have this like very strong young core of like real life MCs that I think should like form a supergroup together or something. But that's a theory for another time. Anyways, Pieces of a Man, I think, is Mick Jenkins' coming out party in terms of like being able to deliver a cohesive project to the world. Yeah. So Waters is obviously a pretty classic mixtape.
Yes.
And everyone loves it.
Even though Trees and Truths, I feel like it's so slept on. Leaves is one of my favorite Mick Jenkins songs.
It is slept on. It is slept on. The Healing Component has a lot of good songs too, THC, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, with all those projects, is they never completed him as a musician. The way Pieces of a Man does, right? Mm-hmm. Pieces of a Man.
It never reached outside of his demographic, out of his like.
I was gonna say that's the biggest thing. I felt like Pieces of a Man, like same shit. When we go back to like promo and like seeing things, like I saw this album cover places. Mm-hmm. Like this was probably the first Mick Jenkins project that I saw like kind of being championed on a larger platform, and even fairly quietly. But it was, you saw it places that you hadn't seen Mick Jenkins. So I do think it kind of like elevated his
status.
Yeah, status.
But not even just that. This is the first piece of work. So Pieces of a Man is originally an album by Gil Scott-Heron, and it draws inspiration from it. And this is the first album that I feel like Mick Jenkins is very strongly branded. Drink More Water, like Free Nation, things like that. Mm-hmm. But this is the first time he's taken that branding and I think actually effectively applied it to his music. And what I mean by that is like he's had plenty of songs about drinking water and doing the right thing. But this time, this entire Pieces of a Man project sounds like it derived directly from that original Pieces of a Man project. And when you do something like that, when you derive from such a powerful musician, when you're derivative of them, you take some of that for your project. And he does that, and he encapsulates it, and then he gives it out in rap, which is different than what a lot of other artists are doing in 2018, right? They're influenced by a lot of different things, and they sort of, some of the influences bleed in here, and some of the influences bleed in here. But you can see directly where it came from if you listen to the original Gil Scott-Heron project. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is, he's never been scared to play with sounds, right? If you go back to the Waters tape, if you go back to THC, it's all he's fine with playing with sound. But this is the first time he's played with sounds with any intentionality. When he like it sounds like he's trying to create a vibe. It sounds like he's trying to create a cohesive sound throughout the project. So for me, this is one of the breakout albums for him as an artist, and one of the breakout albums for him of the year, because it brought together so many things I like about Mick Jenkins and put it in one place. I'm like, damn, I really love Waters because it makes me feel good. I really love THC because it has this song and this song. There's certain things that you like about Mick Jenkins from each project.
Right.
This is the first time he's like, all right, I'm going to take all
this
stuff, like everything.
Yeah. And before you can really invest in like an artist, as far as like being one of your faves, I feel like that's one of the tiers you have to like check off, right? Is like, you have to be able to see them live. They have to be a good live performer. They have to have a cohesive project from beginning to end, minus maybe one or two songs that you have to be able to sit with and like live with before you can really say like, this nigga is one of my top.
Precisely.
And also I feel like this is a big reason why this is a big breakout for Mick Jenkins, is because like we've mentioned with other artists before, Mick Jenkins was one of those artists that needed to progress with each album. Like he needed to get bigger. He needed to develop his sound.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? He needed to find himself and get bigger.
And this is what's happening.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He completely did that.
And I think that's important, especially because when I look at, you talk about the Justice League of Chicago rappers,
it's gonna be a thing, guys.
Fucking amazing at what they do, but I have not seen a ton of growth from any of them.
Nope.
And we talked about No Name on the first episode, and we talked about the lack of growth. Mm-hmm. And even when you get the chance, it comes to
we all know he regressed. We all know he regressed.
So
I
think like Mick Jenkins, like if anything, I see him up there chipping at the glass ceiling, or like even working his way to the next step in the way that I wish more of the Chicago artists would do, because they just have immense talent. But I'm not seeing the growth at the same rate.
Him and Saba are the two that did that this year, right?
Exactly.
And Saba is my album of the year, so I'm not going to talk about it on this one because his was greatly appreciated. It was number one on a bunch of lists. Mm-hmm. But Mick made the same sort of strides. I think I would start with Paddock Locks, Pull Up, and Understood, which is a K-Tronada track as well. And anytime Mick Jenkins and K-Tronada get together,
they make magic.
It's pretty magical.
Make magic.
So that's where I would start with those three. Also, I would just start listening to Mick Jenkins because a lot of people, this is their first time listening to him.
Yeah.
So go back.
Please.
And like listen to his earlier shit and you'll understand what we're saying, right? You'll understand what we're saying when he brought all this shit together and he did it masterfully.
And if he continues, which I really, really think and really, really hope that he will, I think he's somebody who you're going to be able to reflect back on the discography and be like, yo, I kind of see the growth each time. I kind of see what he was doing. Like that Mick Jenkins projects, even though they might not be like cohesively, like as far as like playability from beginning to end, like I feel like all of them had moments. Like Waters, like you said, branding wise, Waters was a moment. THC was a moment. You know
Incredible
what I'm saying?
moment, right?
You know what I'm saying? And I feel like if he continues to do that, because Pieces of a moment, if he does that again, I feel like he's going to be looked back as like legend status. You know what I'm saying? If he keeps it up. I really feel like that for Mick. And that's going to be great because he is like one of the most like underdog artists as far as rappers go. Which I feel like it's hard to do in this kind of...
Definitely.
You know what I'm saying?
You got any songs from this one?
You kind of mentioned most of mine. I mean, the song he did with Bad Bad Not Good off the top just because... Yeah. And he has done other music with Bad Bad Not Good before. I think he was featured on Bad Bad Not Good.
He's an incredible collaborator, right?
Amazing. I was just about to say that. And that's my favorite song on the Bad Bad Not Good album is the Mick Jenkins song. So definitely that, which is the last song, Smoking Song. And yeah, anything he does with K-Tronada is great. And like he brought Corey and Bailey Ray back for us.
I was about to, that's the one I was going to highlight because I just thought that was tough. It's nice when you see artists come out the cut that you haven't like heard from in a while.
Yeah. Especially artists that aren't necessarily known for doing that, or somebody like Corey Bailey Ray. If you follow her artistry, she's had a very, very tough time, which is why like her, and that's been very tied to her music release. So she's one of the artists I don't see popping out for everyone. She would have to come up because she appreciates
special, exactly.
Right.
And the thing is, if you listen to Mick, and I hope y'all do, take a second and appreciate how real of a person Mick is. Mick is telling y'all, take care of your health.
Right.
Put you first. Drink like that.
And the niggas aren't going to tell you that, so I am, and I can be a preacher just because I'd rather be a preacher than just be another nigga selling you dreams.
Yeah, and that I think is important. And he does it in a way that's not lame, which is so often the trap of so many people that like to do it. Yeah. So, Padded Locks featuring Ghostface Killah, Consensual Seduction featuring Corny Bailey, Understood, K-Tronada, and Smoking Song, Bad Bad Not Good.
I wanted to mention, though, speaking of albums that were on the best of 2018 list, I think maybe the last one or two albums that I would mention is something that I saw on every single best of 2018 list, but I didn't see anybody talk about it. And maybe because he's not a U.S. artist, it's Reggie Snow, Dear Annie.
True.
Annie, yeah.
I didn't see anybody talk, like, and I mean, like, I mentioned that I saw a couple people with Tierra Whack. I didn't see anybody talk about Dear Annie. Like, I just feel like it kind of missed the radar for some reason. But
Can you introduce Reggie to people that don't?
Reggie's a weird nigga, bro.
Yeah.
And like, this was kind of more or less my kind of introduction of him. And so I'm still kind of like learning. Can you tell me more about I don't even know where he's from.
I was like, I don't know too much about him. He's been one of those people that just popped up on certain tracks and I'm like, huh.
Because I know he's, I know that he's like Irish. I know that he like is like UK based, like, that's really much that I know about his background.
Yeah, he's from Dublin.
Yeah.
He's actually signed at 300, which is like...
That I knew. Yeah.
That has to be the most fucking interesting thing ever.
But
300 also has signed half of, like, the world.
That's...
Between Atlantic and 300, they've signed everybody.
I don't know how they're paying him.
I don't know, because 300's roster is deep as fuck.
So his album art initially turned me off. It's like a girl sitting in like a field.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what is
a little red wig on?
What is this? Yeah. But like, he is from Dublin. Like you said, he's signed at 300. He has a lot of interesting music, that's for sure. What did you like about the album?
It gave me a lot of like feels and vibes without like me feeling like he was biting off of somebody. Like, there are certain songs and I'm gonna have to like.
What are those feels and vibes? What are they?
There was one song. It was funny because like, and the album is actually kind of long. It's 20 songs, which I don't think is like ridiculously long. But for someone who I'm not necessarily used to, I wouldn't want 20 tracks of an introduction.
Yeah, you're not doing that in one sitting.
Maybe half of that, but I like that like. The album had a very weird flow to it. And I won't say that it was kind of linear or made the most sense. But, like, there are certain sections of it that was like, this is interesting. And one that really was special to me for a really weird reason was there was a weird section that just reminded me of, like, 2008 MySpace music. Like, really childish kitty, like,
that's kind of
like,
what was the section?
What was the song?
This
2008 MySpace
like,
is that's the era.
I've listened to Reggie stuff here and there, and a lot of times when he's collaborating with other people, but I have not listened to this project. So
I know one of the songs that kind of reminds me of it is LMFAO, because they're like kind of chanting like LMFAO. So it's just and the stuff that he's talking about is really childish. And there's another song where he goes, "Fuck me, feed me, fried rice," and like just the beat is very like, "You want to do it in my butt?" in my butt. That's what it reminds me of. Like maybe even like that YouTube kind of like moment.
Yeah, just that early,
that chocolate rain type shit.
Pre-social media, but niggas are like getting
like garage band beats type shit. That's what it sounded like. Kind of how.
Shout out to SoundClick.
I was like, what's that girl that popped up for doing that moo shit? That moo.
Doja Cat.
Yeah.
And how like everyone just like loved the video just because it was like all old school like Microsoft type shit. Like that's how
and that's like in trend right now.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
Oh, it's the 90s and we have a shitty VHS camcorder. Like,
right.
Get the fuck out of here.
I like how
y'all were 6 in the 90s, by the way. That's a separate issue. But
yes. But I like how this was kind of able to like do its own version of that without it kind of sounding like everyone else's like nostalgia. Like his sounded like you could tell he went kind of like a deep web of like YouTube or like you know
I fuck with that. And I think there's like an interesting juxtaposition with him being from across the pond. And I always look at people that kind of operate in like hip hop spaces, and because the way we perceive hip hop culture here in the US and the way people perceive it from other countries is very, very different. And so I'm always just really interested when people like, just for hip hop artists that are not from here, how they really got in that bag and what they're like, even what their association and their understanding of it is, because it's fundamentally different than how we see shit here.
Have you ever been to a show internationally?
I have not. But when I was in Europe last spring, I saw like they played hip hop every fucking where I went. I went to Amsterdam, Munich, and Barcelona, and they played hip hop everywhere. And there was also a couple big tours that were coming there. A lot of American artists. Like, I remember there was this huge, like, yacht festival or some shit. And Gold Link. Wow. And all of these people were on it. Like, hell, I think it was... I can't even remember the lineup. But I remember Gold Link was on it. Because he's from here. And, you know, one of our homies works with him. So I thought that was dope. I was like, oh, dang. These niggas about to be in Germany. Awesome music shit. You know? So... there's a lot of hip hop gets played everywhere, and I think that was one of the things that I was most like amazed by. But so somebody like Reggie Snow and all these artists coming from Europe, I think like they just bring an interesting flavor. And obviously we've seen the rise of grime in the past couple years.
Yeah, and I like that it didn't really sound like that, but his sound was just still so European. Like I could see like me being in a bar in Europe, like halfway raving to like he had a lot of like weird like ravey techno beats, and he was like and still like giving bars over though, so it still wasn't him like like he was still like flowing, and I was like, oh, okay, something
that like, and I think now that you said that, and like I said, you're telling me about this album that I still haven't heard yet, but I think like even just the like in like rapping over that, I think that is also very like back in the blog days, like this is 2012, like this is 2009, legit. This is before Twitter really popped off. And I think that's cool.
Yeah, so, like it really got some Mario Go-Kart beats with his flows like da-na-na-na-na-na, these bitches on ice. I'm like, oh shit, okay. Like it was very, very interesting. And he gave me some weird Tyler vibes with like some of the instrumentals that he used and rapped over again, which didn't sound like he was biting again. It just sounded like it was kind of an ode to, which makes sense. If there's any nigga that a UK or over the pond rapper is gonna like emulate, it's Tyler the Creator, because he was so big in that area at one point.
Yeah.
Well, not to generalize all Europeans, but like Lava LaRue also dropped an album called the Letra EP, and she's a French rapper, and she did the exact same thing. Like I got the exact same vibe. I'm like, oh, this is like weirdo rap.
Yeah,
but like
exactly.
good weirdo rap.
Exactly. That's Reggie Snow.
It's good weirdo rap.
Yep.
But what you got for your next one?
The next one, you know, I'm gonna have to go my boy Tory Lanez. Shout out to
Tory Lanez.
Yes, y'all are faking. Look,
I didn't say anything. This is the
Tory Lanez.
I need you guys to put some respect on Tory's name.
You know, he thinks he can rap better than J. Cole.
And did he challenge Eminem to a rap?
He challenged
and voice the 5'9".
Everybody. The thing is, Tory challenged everybody. He said everybody can get these bars.
And I feel like he's just doing the Jack Quees.
And niggas not trying to spar up with him.
No, because
he's not doing Jack Quees. And we're not going to disrespect Tory like that. Because Tory can really rap his ass off. And sing his ass off. And I've seen Tory live. He's a fucking amazing performer. You guys should go see him.
I mean, I love the Chicks tape. But he's not a better rapper than J. Cole.
He's not a better rapper than J. Cole. But the thing is, Tory has bars. And I think a lot of people, especially because he be off his, like, you know, kind of Drake shit, the sing and rap type shit. I feel like he gets, like, people act like he can't rap.
Yeah, I feel like it's easy to discredit Tory Lanez. But he makes it easy to discredit him.
He makes it easy because he's face ass.
Yes.
I think of in the ways that people don't like Wale, I can see Tory going down that path. If he keeps at his same antics, I can very easily see Tory Lane going down that path.
Wale's antics were such a different lane than Tory's.
A different lane because they come from this place of like animosity.
And a little insecurity.
And Tory has more fun with that. You can, even when you talk to him, they ask him about it, he's like, yo, this is for everybody. Like, everybody can get these hands. And everything, and it's real positive and shit. But I do think Tory, he's tired of being overlooked.
I'll make one note about Tory Lanez. I always fuck with him because he made a song about Tim Duncan. And it's a really good song.
I like that he really came and Travis like, we can run the fade, my nigga.
No, exactly. Yeah. I really fuck with Tory because the first time, when I first got hip to Tory, it was this song called Dímelo. And and this was back, like, this was like fucking, I don't even know when this was. This is maybe like
a couple years ago.
2012, 2013. A brick ago. A while ago.
This thing's been a minute.
And when I first got hip to Tory, he was doing shit with Snake Hips. And I thought that was just so dope. Because like the same way we're talking about like rappers just getting on shit that you don't usually hear rappers on. You don't hear rappers collaborating with Snake Hips. Like, that shit was just super tough to me.
Even when like Sid collaborated with Snake Hips, niggas was like, "Oh shit."
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly.
Some
like
R&B shit.
There was like a wave. There was a wave that Snake Hips was just doing really fucking cool shit with people, and Tory's one of those people, and that was like really like kind of
talk about the album. Talk about the album.
Memories Don't Die. I thought it was like just a really really comprehensive project. And it really gets in, like, Tory, I would say, like, the quintessential Tory Lanez bag. Like, really
this shit came out in 2018?
Really good rapping. Tory dropped, like, 2 or 3 projects last year. That's the thing. Yeah. People not hip. He is one of the hardest working people in the industry.
I remember this shit. This was, like, super early in the year or some shit?
This was earlier in the year. This dropped... Let's see.
For those that don't remember, it's him sitting there in the birthday shit. And he
this maybe dropped March or April-ish?
Yeah, but that was a minute ago.
I wouldn't say that because that was around the time I went to Europe and I was super pressed for this project. But
it had shooters on it. All right.
It had shooters on it. It was 18 tracks. It was really fucking good. He had a lot of good features on here. He had Wiz. He had Fabulous. He had Future. He like y'all playing with my mans. Y'all need to put some respect on Tory's name. For Me, one of my favorite songs. 48 Floors, also one of my favorite songs. Like Shooters was on there. Like really.
What album is this?
This was Memories Don't Die.
Okay. Yeah, sitting
and
there.
So he came out with this. Yeah. Because then he came out with Love Me Now. And that was cool. And a lot of people said that project was better than Memories Don't Die. But I feel like people said that because of the hype and because of his antics around the time. But Memories Don't Die to me is a much more solid project.
Better project.
And like I said, I've been listening to Tory for a couple lanes. Memories Don't Die, if you've never heard Tory, I feel like this is a good project to dive into him. His music's smooth. He gets a lot of radio records, but he also has deep cuts on here. And he just like, if you really like melodies and you really like niggas that really rap their ass off, Tory is somebody you should be paying attention to. And I think he could truly be a young legend in the making. I really hope he chills with his antics a little bit though, because people don't like that. But Memories Don't Die was definitely one of my favorite projects of 2018.
I remember that shit being hard too. Like it's smooth, but like he's got like
and that's what I'm saying,
verses
he
on there.
Raps.
He actually rapped, and that was dope. Shooters is my song. I remember that shit. So I would say, start with Shooters. You need a song to listen to.
For Me is right after Shooters, so play Shooters and this listen
right
to For Me.
You be straight. Ooh. Yeah.
And also like how we're talking about like album stretches. Like I will say like Tory is one of those people that is really good at providing like those 3 songs back to back that just hit.
Oh, those hits.
You know, like, and I think that's so important. Like, because we're talking about like our favorite albums or and underrated albums of last year, and like it's so good. Like even when an album is good. But, like, those, like, album sequencing is so important. And this is a dying art because, like, there isn't a lot of people that are methodically thinking of their albums.
Because people are stupid. They just want to get their shit on a playlist as opposed to actually, like, listening to a project.
Making a cohesive project. But, like, when people have that, like, when they just get in their bag and there's, like, those 3 tracks back to back and you're just like, ooh, ooh, ooh.
Tory is the king of that.
That's important. He's exactly. The king of that. And that's why I feel like Tory, like, you could go from Shooters to For Me to Skirt to Benevolent, and he starts talking about some real shit on Benevolent. He starts talking about how he was beefing with niggas with Travis and with everybody. He raps about that shit. Like, he raps about his real life.
And Tory's dope because you can play him in the whip, right? A lot of music you can't play in the whip anymore, or, like, it's specifically catered to something other than the whip.
Yeah. Or it's just...
Exactly, and that's why I think one thing we've talked about kind of all the albums that we've touched on is, like, you could live with them. You could take them to multiple spaces. Mm-hmm. And I think Memories Don't Die also, like, gives you that.
All right. Does anybody have any honorable mentions? It's time to... You have one to talk about?
Nah, go ahead. You got one to talk about?
No, I just have an honorable... I just feel like we should throw out some honorable mentions real quick and then
all right, you go first,
wrap it up. So, I mean... Honorable mention because I wouldn't necessarily toss it in here because like I have an issue with so many of my favorite albums of 2018. It's too short and it's considered an EP, so I'm letting them live. But I feel like this completely went under mostly everyone's radar other than maybe Alexis's was Donald Genesis Facade Records EP.
Alright, I'm with you.
That was solid. And it's just, I like it just because I was not expecting it. I wasn't expecting it. Yes. I didn't care. I wasn't looking for it. I didn't ask for it.
I just did not expect you to say that. That's why I laughed. I actually listened to it. It was decent. But I was just like, I did not expect you to say that. Oh, no.
Yeah. Just because I'm so not checking for Damo Genesis in 2018. Like, I'm just so not. But then I heard this shit and I was like, yo, for like, what, 5-6 songs? Yeah. There was maybe one that's a throwaway. This shit was solid. And the shit that he was talking about, again, I just feel like it was a good reflection of 2018. Content. It's a facade. The whole shit is facade records. So you're like, these niggas is faking out here. Like, and these niggas don't even, and I like how this album was so much like, these niggas don't even want me because y'all are on that fake shit. You niggas don't want me because everyone's on that fake shit, and it's fine. You're gonna get these bars, but like, I like that kind of was how he was going about it. So I honorable mention again. It was cool. I fuck with that. I didn't want it, but I got it.
Exactly. That was something, once again, I stumbled across. I was like, wait, Damo Genesis?
Right, and I was like, for what?
Has new music out?
But then I listened, I was like, oh, wait. And then
he's rapping his ass off?
Right. And then I think the beat selection, the production selection also was very, very good. And it was a vibe that I don't necessarily feel like I ever really got from him. But I'm like, this is some shit I could smoke to. I like this. Okay.
Nah, for real. All right, listen to Damo Genesis. So I'm gonna fire off like 3 or 4 real quick with the sentences about each because we gotta wrap up.
Boom, boom, boom.
But Internet James, keep it clean.
Yes.
If you're looking for a hip hop album in 2018 that actually infuses music, like real music, into shit, that's where you start. The Underachievers, they had After the Rain. It is a progression of them from just rapping for rapping's sake to rapping about something important to listen to if you like, the lyrical miracle shit. Velo, The Nature of the Beast. She's an R&B artist. I don't know where she's from. I don't even know what she looks like. She's from. But goddamn, that album's dope. And the last thing I would say is if you want like trap rap that has some weight to it, Maxo Cream. Punkin. Yes. Yeah, Punkin.
I forgot that came out last year.
That shit is amazing. Go listen to the song Grannies. You'll be happy. You going rapid fire some or you good?
I got some rapid fire ones. Real quick. So the first one I would definitely say, which actually got a good amount of love, but I still want to put this out there. Key 777, Fire. I thought that was very, very dope. I'm also going to shout out my homie Mir Fontaine. He dropped Macaroni Tony last year. He was signed to 300. And now, he's out here being an independent artist and shit. But Macaroni Tony was a really dope project. Bodega was definitely my favorite track off of there. And then lastly, I'm going to say one of my last favorite projects of last year would be Trippie Redd's A Love Letter to You, number 3. I thought that was really fucking good.
It's got a couple good songs on it. I can't even front. You got some, Bria, for rapid fire? Or you good?
No, that's it. I'm excited for Jaden Smith. Sunset Tapes was the only project of his that really came out in 2018, and I haven't really sat with it as much as I should. Sire from 2017 was still solid, and I'm just really excited for Jane and Willow to make more music because I feel like they're both like, they're on to something, so I need more music from them.
So Lex dropped a lot of shit in 2018 too, right?
I dropped some stuff.
Yeah, you want to talk about that real quick before we go?
Oh, man. I dropped this project called ATM at the moment. I dropped it late spring, and it was cool. It was a good project for me to work on. At the time, my life was super hectic, so I didn't do a good job marketing, giving that project the love it deserved.
But it's got some tracks on there.
It's got some tracks. Livingston Road Flows. If you're from Southern PG, Fort Washington, Oxon Hill area, you know all about Livingston Road. So the real ones know. But no, I had Pink Limousines. That's the track that has a star on it right now. So I know people fuck with that. But no, it was just a fun project for me to drop. And I think as I drop stuff in 2019, you can find it everywhere. All the streaming services. Havana, Soul. And yeah, 2019, I think it'll be a cool project for people to revisit after the new shit this year.
I'm going to make Lex sit down one day and we're going to have a real talk about her shit. Today is not that day. I just wanted to get that in there while we're talking about underappreciated artists in 2018. That has been another hip hop podcast. Peace and love. And I hope y'all doing well.
Peace, niggas.